Sherman Lea Sr. recently finished a term as vice mayor in Roanoke and has been a member of City Council for 8 years. Before that, Lee, who also works as a regional director for the Virginia Department of Corrections, was a member of the Roanoke City School Board and the chairman at one point. For over a decade, Lee, a Danville native, has also chaired the Western Virginia Education Classic football game, which is played each year between two historically black colleges, raising funds that are used to help dropouts return to school. As a result of this game and the funds derived from it, more than 700 young men and women have gone back to high school. Lee himself earned a degree in sociology at Virginia Union University, attended Old Dominion University's Graduate School of Urban Studies, and was awarded an honorary doctorate in humane letters from Bethlehem Bible College for humanitarian work in the community. An associate minister, a former high school basketball and football official, and a former college football official, Sherman Lea has long been a community activist on many levels. The past few years on City Council, with the economic slowdown, have certainly been a challenge. Sherman Lea, welcome to the interview.
It's good to be here.
First of all, talk about what made you want to run for City Council in the first place. I guess it was, what, 6 years ago, 8 years ago?
Well, it was 6 years ago, in the 04 election. Yes.
Right. What made you decide to run for City Council? You had been on the school board before that.
Well, serving on the school board, which I think now is probably the highest civic calling you can have, we worked jointly with our school, with the City Council, and I was just interested in taking it a step further. I enjoy public service. I enjoy working with people, and I was excited about the fact that serving on council, you can have interaction with people, and you can affect the quality of life of people immediately, unlike from the federal standpoint or the state standpoint. So, and I just enjoy meeting and working with people. So it was an opportunity for me, and I was one of those folks that always say that if you think you can do it better, try it.
I'm just curious, a lot of people come from families where public service was a thing. Was that something in your family, or?
It was. I grew up in a rural area right outside of Danville, Virginia, in Pennsylvania County, and my father was sort of the neighborhood coordinator for the Democratic Party, and we were trying to get people registered to vote. And back in the, and I'm giving my age away, back in the late 60s and early 70s, we would go throughout the neighborhood encouraging and canvassing people to come out and vote. And I just saw his enthusiasm and commitment to that and how it made a difference. And we really felt good about that. So I just felt that if I can serve publicly, try it.
Now, you were on the school board for a while. And talk about that experience, and Sherman, did that give you an insight into school issues that's useful now? Obviously, the last couple of years have been very trying.
Well, it did, and I served for 5 years on the school board. I served 1 year as chairman of the school board, and because I think more so than anything else, education is a foundation for life. And I would come from a neighborhood where a basic education was not a guarantee. And but fortunately, our parents always encouraged us to be involved and to get an education. And so I wanted to work on the school board. And before I moved here, I applied for the school board in Danville, Virginia. That was an appointed board, and I ended up serving on the Board of Commissioners for the Housing Authority. So, but I wanted to get involved with the schools because I think schools are important in so many ways. And my tenure here, I enjoyed it, and working with not only the school administration but interacting with the students and the teachers, because education is so critical, and it gave me an opportunity to see it from the ground up. And I really, a lot of the things that I do today basically were developed during my time on the school board, the ideas and thoughts of doing those things.
You mentioned how critical an education is, and of course, in your day job with corrections, you work with parolees and probationary people. You also see the effect of what happens for a lot of these people, especially younger people, that never got an education.
Very much so. Right now, within the Department of Corrections, within the region that I work, we have about 13,000 men and women on probation supervision. And there was one common denominator that I saw that bothered me, and it was the fact that there was a direct correlation between the lack of education and one's involvement in crime. In other words, those young men and women that dropped out of school, that did not at least gain a high school diploma or a GED ended up on our caseloads, and I'm talking about the adult caseloads. And so that was disturbing, and I've always had the position and the philosophy that if you can do something, do it. Make it happen. And so that's inspired me, and I wanted to go forward with that because I see the correlation.
Mm-hmm. Talk about better schools in Roanoke City, increasing graduation rates, which has been an issue, high school graduation rates in Roanoke City. How key, Sherman, better schools in the city, higher graduation rates, how key is that to keeping people in Roanoke and attracting others here, people, other businesses?
Nothing is more critical. When economies or the businesses look for areas to relocate, as I said earlier, when we'll probably talk about the meals tax and this, people don't ask how much does it cost to buy a meal, but they want to know what kind of schools do you have. And even myself, when I first moved to the city, when I got here and talked to a realtor, they were taking me into different neighborhoods based on the schools, and they were saying, well, you don't want to live in this neighborhood because you'll have to attend that school, and a lot of it was in Roanoke City.
Right.
And so that concerned me, and so I can say from experience that schools are critical, and that's why as a council we've been very supportive of our schools, and I can say that serving on the school board, it's important if we're going to do anything, our foundation it's going to be about our school system, and so that's important. And we've tried to budget ourselves to make sure, because again, our action needs to speak louder than our words with regards to schools.
Right, and since you mentioned budget, the last couple of years, money's been tight, and it means ultimately the money for the school board comes from, a lot of it comes from City Council. How closely has City Council, Sherman, and the school board, how closely have you worked on funding, school closings, repurposing, things like that? What's that relationship like?
I'm very pleased to see that it's good. I think there were some bumps in the road, which you'll have during a budget process, because the budget is a grinding process. And I think now, given the economy, the recession, one thing that's imperative that everybody put it on the table. Pet programs, concerns they have. And I think I'd be remiss if I didn't say that was a struggle. That was a struggle sometimes because people get territorial about certain things.
Leave the school open, don't close
leave that school, and how much you're going to fund this. This program is a good program. But I'm happy we got a joint services committee that school board members and council members serve on together. I think with the leadership of our current superintendent and our new city manager and our previous city manager, we would meet. I would meet monthly with the chairman of the school board, the school superintendent, and the city manager, and have joint sessions. So there are joint meetings and joint sessions going on all over the place. And right now we're working well together. And it's imperative that we do, because we're really tied into each other. And so that's important. And I'm pleased as to where we're going. And I'm encouraged by what we're going to be doing in the future, because the challenge of the budget and the challenge of the recession is here. It's not going to go away, and we're going to have to be able to work together and be honest with one another.
Okay, we'll take a quick break. We're talking with Sherman Lea from the Roanoke City Council. This is The Interview. I'm Gene Marrano. We'll be right back.